45 70 ముందరే కాదు చేసి
Good evening, guys.
Good evening, sir.
And I am good. And don't forget to thank Srinivas sir from the ITKM department who is facilitating. And in every event, they are there to support us all the technical things. Even today, like they are hosting. So we have the host thing, but still, like I requested them because they are expert. So don't forget.
Yeah, it won't be possible without their support.
Yeah.
Even the YouTube live experience and the everything. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Srinivas sir?
Yes, yes, sir.
Sir, YouTube live is also there, no, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sham
Okay. Fantastic. So we are grateful, sir, for the support that you are giving.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our guest has also arrived, Doctor.
Yes, yes, sir.
Hello.
Sir, very good evening.
Good evening.
So I have to say participants already 16. Very nice. So we'll wait for the other guest and also the other participants. Good to see my champions. So we all are ready with our slides.
Yes, sir.
Great. It's hot in the office. They have switched off the AC.
I can share my PPT directly from my screen, right? You're mute there.
Sir, you're muted, sir. Yes, ma'am. You can share the PPT right here.
Yeah, and am I audible? Is my voice very clear?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Yes, it's perfectly audible.
Okay.
So Dr. Prakash might join. I'll just ping him. So today's session is quite interesting because it's not just a talkspiration. It's more than that. So we are taking that inspiration to the next level. So let's see. So I'll ping Satya, Mr. Satya also.
Tushar, you are hosting.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, 9 more minutes to go.
Hello, good evening.
Mr. Satya?
Good evening.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, it's quite dark out there. We cannot see you actually.
My video is off, sir. Like, just give me some.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Take your time. Yeah, we have time.
There was small issue here, like there was a power cut.
Yeah. You mentioned that.
So I'm troubleshooting like entrepreneur, finding different solutions.
That's a part and parcel of entrepreneurship, but we need to innovate.
True.
So if there's nothing, we can also use torch.
That's true. Hello, sir.
Good
How are
evening.
you all?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. So we have with us like all the champions, student champions, and the master champion, Dr. Aksa.
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you, Mr. Satya?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Great. Like it's good to see like all the students taking this initiative and taking part of this program, organizing, and like a really good initiative, Bakshiji. You'll put fire everywhere you go.
Absolutely.
So we are waiting for more students to join, or like?
Yeah, we'll start sharp by 7 o'clock.
Sure.
So yeah, we're waiting for like others to join because we've got a good number of registration.
Great. Sir, if you don't mind, like there is a challenge with my internet.
Okay.
So meanwhile, like I'll turn off the video.
All right. Surely.
So when it is required, we can.
So it's required like from 7 o'clock.
Okay. I'll share my PPT. Like.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Share.
before participants join, like I'll just check whether the screen sharing is happening properly. Like we can check the audio and
Especially the audio at the left hand side down, you will have that enable audio, that one.
yes.
I'll just go and get myself a glass of water. Just give me a minute.
Much required.
Yeah, yeah.
And Bakshiji, what are updates about the hackathon you're going to plan?
Yeah, the social one, we got some good response from the corporate.
Mhm.
So again, like the collateral part, the forms, the other things, because it's going to be big, and not
Okay.
only like we need to get the problem statement that will be again structured. So
Mhm.
also we have to make sure those problem statements are being implemented in the society. It's not just
Correct.
like devising something for which we give some prizes and we clap and that's it. No, we have to take it to
True.
the next level.
True.
So we have to make sure like, so that's the part we are working on. Maybe it will take more 10 days for the
Oh,
social
nice.
hackathon. Yep,
Great.
sure.
So the incubator where I'm associated is a little far from my home. So I had to stay back in a student's hostel and I'm taking the session.
Oh, wonderful. We're really grateful. So we are giving you all types of experiences, right?
For students, like we can do anything.
See. So we have supporters like that in the industry. So our chances to do something is like 1,000 times more now.
So I'll quickly try to share my screen and check the audio.
Yeah, we can do a trial run. It's visible. This slide is visible.
Okay. I just want to check like how the audio of the videos inside the presentation sounds like.
Sure. You can play one.
What is innovation?
It's clear.
Life.
Crystal.
It's clear now, sir?
Yeah, crystal clear.
Great.
I think you enabled the stereo button.
I clicked something like yeah, high frequency.
Yeah. That's.
So okay, once the students start connecting, then I'll start sharing this.
All right.
Should I just share my screen once, my PPT, in case if there's any problem, we can just, it's a very simple one. Is that fine? How do we get into the PPT mode? It's here. guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dai,
Sir,
you are
muted, sir.
mute.
Yeah, we'll wait for more 2 minutes and then we'll start.
Sure, no problems. Anyhow, the session is being recorded. Like we can later share in social media
Right.
so that students can go.
Uh, Shall we start? We'll wait for a couple of more minutes.
Yes, like the scheduled time was 7 p.m. So we can just give 1 or 2 minutes. So that should
Sure,
be fine.
sure. Great.
So we'll just wait till 7:05, sir. So probably we can start from.
Someone like who might be joining now will be thinking the screen is still, it got stuck somewhere.
And that's so true. Even I was watching the screen and I was like, is something wrong with my internet?
So let's get started. Let people join. I think it's, or we can just wait for 3 more minutes and then start.
Yes.
All
So
right.
like meanwhile, I want to share some experience, sir.
Yep.
When like we started sharing the poster. So this is for Aksa ma'am. So like I have a very close friend who's an entrepreneur. He studies in Rajiv Gandhi National Institute for Youth Development. It is in Chennai. He did his master's in social innovation and entrepreneurship. So I don't know like what kind of support he need. He was saying like I need some like can you ask ma'am that can she help him in research or something? Like I said like okay, I'll help you connect with the ma'am.
Sure.
That would be great.
Right. So maybe
I think he's doing PhD now, PhD in social innovation and incubation. Like he's mostly into like how these incubators work and how these incubators are creating impact in the social community.
Okay.
So probably like maybe when you network, he will be sharing more information.
Maybe, yeah. I'll see if I'm of any use to him.
For
Definitely.
sure, ma'am. Like, I mean, entrepreneurship and all this innovation is all about collaboration and
Absolutely.
collaborative work.
Definitely.
And
So if you
Pakshiji,
want-
yes, ma'am.
So you either can pass on my email ID to him or my number.
Sure, sure. I'll do that.
I'll get connected to you. I'll ask a number
Sure,
from
sure.
there. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Probably like I think we have our email IDs in that Excel sheet Bakshiji just shared.
Yeah.
So there I'll try to network and share that mail ID to him. He'll be probably writing a query like what kind of support he need in research.
Yeah. I think that will be good.
Yes, yes. And even I'm excited to know like how the journey started.
Yeah.
And we have 34 participants, like the count is increasing. Bakshiji, I think we are good to start.
Yeah, we're good to start. Chalo, James.
Hello all, good evening, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's SRM ESL Talkspiration series. This Talkspiration series is being organized by the team Social Impacto. Myself, Sai Venkat, and I am the team lead of Social Impacto Entrepreneurship Cell of SRM AP, and I'll be the moderator of today's session. First and foremost, I want to express my warmest greetings to all of the lovely individuals over here, especially our designated visitor, Mr. Satyayala sir, Aksa ma'am, Udayan Bakshi sir, the Assistant Director of Entrepreneurship. The SRM ESL, with the backing up of SRM Group, is one of the most vibrant student communities in the state of Andhra Pradesh. It's been impacting hundreds of lives in a society through its various teams, trained in specialized knowledge and expertise in innovation, leadership, community building, creativity, and pioneer innovation in association with the government, corporate, and other institutions. Today, we are presenting this Talkspiration series with our Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. Satyayala sir, on a theme himself, how Satyayala is impacting thousands of lives. In the next part of the session, Dr. Aksa ma'am will be discussing her experiences and the information on how to go beyond in a scientific way in a special welfare works impacting the people and the society. She'll be discussing her experiences. If any one of you had any questions or any queries, I request everyone to feel free to address them in the chat box in your Zoom. I'll be bringing up them at the end of the session along with the event host. Before we getting started, may I request our President of ESL, Mohammad Khizar Beg, to give brief updates about SRM ESL and TBI. Over to you, Khizar.
Yeah, thank you very much, Venkat, for that introduction. Yeah, firstly, we welcome all of you tonight, and also Mr. Satyayala sir for joining us again. It was indeed a very memorable session last time, and we are good to have you back. And also Aksa ma'am for joining us for the very first time. So we welcome you for that. So as this is the very first interaction between us, so that we can actually have a very brief introduction about our ESL and our works which we are doing, so that you can have a better idea about the overall perspective. For that, I would like to just share my screen very quick. Hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, Khizar.
Yes. So yeah, SRM ESL is a place for all those who think differently. Basically, we live in a society where everyone is overly indulged, in that routine of 9-to-5 jobs and all these things. Whereas very few people think differently and want to do something beyond that level, so that something innovative can happen. So basically, SRM ESL is a place which proliferates the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the ecosystem. This is done through various ways, such as collaborating with corporate industry and empowering students with providing resources in various forms. So SRM ESL was started not very long ago by very few individuals, whereas now in a very short period of time, we have 60 plus team members and 500 plus students directly or indirectly involved in various processes. We have 14 leaders, 6 communities, which have a major impact for the overall functioning of our ESL. So the communities are Industry Owl, Unleash Mind, Inventors Village, Social Impacto, Speakers Tribe, and Achievers Square. I would give a brief about the communities in the coming up slides. So we believe that any organization works efficiently if there is a proper structure for that. So similarly, we have a structure for our ESL, a hierarchy for organizational and operational ease, such as the president of ESL, myself, along with my very talented team members and team leads from various different communities and the overall entrepreneurship ecosystem. So to start with, Industry Owl is basically a community which lies bright minds from the industry, corporate, and colleges to connect and share the knowledge and expertise from their profound experiences. And Unleash Mind is a community which basically deals with enhancing the subconscious development of our human body. We tend to often, overly focus on academics and knowledge development, whereas we forget to actually have a proper check on our subconscious development. So Unleash Mind is that community which helps in proliferating that particular domain. So Inventors Village is a technical wing of our ESL, which has like-minded individuals who work on problem statements from the corporate and the entire ecosystem. And Social Impacto, the community which made this particular event possible, proliferates the social entrepreneurship sense in the ecosystem. Basically, not everyone is as privileged as us, so we try to bring that very small change so that even impacting one single life and changing any one single person's future can definitely have an impact on the long go. So Speakers Tribe is basically a community where we believe that we actually help them to learn the art of communication actually. So language is just something which can be learned, but art of communication, the science of neurolinguistics and all that isn't much aware of this, and people don't know much about it. So this is what we do in Speakers Tribe. And Achiever Square is a community which helps harness potential and opportunities from the ecosystem. There are a lot of opportunities, hackathons, events which go on in the ecosystem, which often go unnoticed because we don't actually know about that. So this particular community harnesses and brings all that events and initiatives so that we get to know and we can participate, we can help our students participate in those particular things. So as I earlier mentioned, like we have a structured process. We even have a structured process for work and evaluation parameters as well. For example, the number of MOUs signed with the corporate and government officials. And then we also work in align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and also like the number of startups which are encouraged and which are mentored by a university and by our technology business incubator, etc. So these are some of our basic works which we do in very structured process. So with the help of our proficient team, we actually have able to connect and network to more than 35 plus national and international mentors who are of various domains like founders, CEOs, industry experts, personality coaches, and etc. With their profound expertise, we can actually help our students and the entire ecosystem to succeed in the future process. So this is a very short view of some of our mentors. The further information regarding that can be found on our ESL website, srmesl.com, because putting all the pictures over here will make the slide too long. So hence a very short view of that. So these are some of our events which we have done in the previous few months, which actually involve various reputed individuals like the CEO of GMR Air Cargo, Mr. Saurabh Kumar, who actually graced this event where he spoke about air logistics, etc. Whereas we had different cohorts for the technology business incubator and smart idea contest, etc. So yeah, this is the basic structure of ESL, the president being me, and then there is the executive leadership, there is the team leadership and community leadership, along with the 6 communities and the entire ESL ecosystem. So yeah, this is our wonderful team who had made all these things possible. And yes, so this is all our team members who are a part of our team. So yeah, and also I would like to tell about the technology business incubator of our university, the Hatch Lab Research Center. It is basically a Section 8 company registered so that the sense of entrepreneurship and can be proliferated. If at all you have an idea and it is of a good potential, and if it's onboarded in the technology business incubator, the Hatch Lab Research Center, it can be accelerated to new heights. So some of our recent college is RI.ai, which has been very successful in a very short amount of time, still being students. So yeah, they have received various hundreds of thousands of investments from various capitalists and agent investment firms, etc. So yeah, like in a very short amount of time, we have done a good amount of progress, I must say. So we also have our innovation partners, for example, the University of California, Berkeley's Sudhaja Center of Entrepreneurship and Technology, Kingston University, London's things, and so on. Like we have our esteemed collaborations with all these eminent institutions. So this is a very broad nutshell of our ESL and TBI. So basically, the mentors and the resource from ESL can be harnessed and can be provided to the technology business incubators, the ventures which are there in that, so that they have the overall development and can support their particular projects. Whereas the live experiences of the entire entrepreneurship journey and the real life scenarios of the ventures in the TBI can be helpful for the students who are in the ECEL so that they can get to know the real life experience and the industry exposure. So this is what it is. So basically, if you have an idea, then it goes on through various phases. For example, the mentoring phase, the testing phase, the outside classroom phase, and all that. So it basically involves ideation, selection of POC, selection of identification of the IP content, and then organizing boot camps. Going ahead, we also organizing workshops and stuff like angel investments and gathering investor expo, etc. So overall, it basically is from a very short idea till the seed capital stage, and then the entire industry ecosystem. So this is how the entire process goes on. Also, we have our various signature events such as Talkspiration, this particular series which we are in, where industry experts and leaders from the entire ecosystem come and speak and share their experiences and with their profound knowledge, we can actually have a better idea about the entire working of the society. So similarly, we have Idea Mike, and then we have Campus Accelerator Program, which is basically used for proliferating the sense of entrepreneurship in the entire society and the Indian ecosystem. So yes, like this is the broad roadmap of our events. Like we have our national events, we have the student participation, collaboration, internships with startups, and various things. So this is the broad overall roadmap of our ECEL and TBI. So yeah, without further ado, I would like to pass on the stage to Mr. Tushar Sahu for a brief introduction about the Socio Impacto community, which has been very helpful in making this event possible. So yeah, thank you very much, and over to you, Tushar.
Yeah. Thank you, Kiza, for that wonderful introduction of our ESEL. Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Tushar Sahu, and I am a team member of Socio Impacto community. So before we go on to our first speaker for this evening, I would just like to say a few words about our Socio Impacto community. So Socio Impacto is basically a student-driven community which deals with social entrepreneurship. So our main goal or main aim of this community is to have a very constructive and meaningful impact on the society around us. According to us, a healthy society is a society in which both social as well as economic units are working together and they are working well. You know, they are optimized. To make that possible, we take up several initiatives from various domains like education, entrepreneurship, sustainable living, as well as government help and support. So our community also works on women empowerment, child education, and we also support tribal communities. So we believe and we support women to find we help women to find their passion, to find their dream, and we also support them to pursue their dream, because that is what empowerment is all about: pursuing your dream, believing in your dream, and finally achieving your dream. We also believe in a better education for our children, because our children are the future of the society. So if the future of our children is bright, then the future of our society will also be bright. We also try to support and work with various tribal communities in not just improving their livelihood, but also maintaining that improvement. Our community is a very uh, you can say a very huge supporter of the startup ecosystem that is growing in not just in India but all over the world. So basically, here we collaborate with a lot of corporations, NGOs, and various government organizations to conduct events, different kind of events, and different kind of workshops in which we can train people to find innovative solutions to their own problems, the problems that is being faced by their community and being faced by themselves. So basically, we are giving them the skills, or you can say we are giving them the tools so that they can uh, find in they can find solutions to their own problems instead of depending on anyone else. We also try to help a lot of startups and entrepreneurs by providing them with funding or providing them with different kinds of resources, and also by connecting them to government funding and government support. So there are two great initiatives that we are a part of now. Uh, in accordance with Unyat Bharat Abhiyan, we are working with 5 villages in our vicinity and helping them to develop, helping them in innovative solutions. We are also working and supporting a lot of MSMEs, which is micro, small, and medium enterprises, for venture ideation and as well as scaling up of their ideation. So currently our community consists of 11 students, and as I have already mentioned that our community is a student driven community. We have two team leads, Venkat and Rishita, and our team is very focused and is very motivated towards working towards our main vision. So our grand vision or our main vision, our main aim for this community is to have a very positive and constructive impact on our society, on all the people around us. We want to have a very positive impact. So I'm glad that we have taken some steps, some few little steps on our long journey. We know that our vision may sound very vast, it may sound very overwhelming, or it may sound very challenging, but we believe that if each and every one of us is doing their bit of work, then we can make a huge difference in this society. We can have a huge positive impact on the society. This is what I believe in. This is what our whole social impact community believes in. So thank you, everyone. That was just a brief, a few words about our community. So now I'd like to move on to our first guest speaker for this evening. So touching the lives of others is one of the most cardinal values of not just a human being, but also of a very good leader. And the guest we have with us today is one such leader who has not just touched the life of one person, but has touched the lives of many people with his hard work and leadership. Mr. Satya Illa is a clean and safe energy activist, social entrepreneur, educator, motivational speaker, and youth mentor. He has also worked with many organizations and has gained a lot of experience at a young age of 24. He received his BTech in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from Bharat Institute of Engineering and Technology and completed his Masters in Social Innovation and Leadership from International Institute of Social Entrepreneurs. He is also the founder of Kanti and co-founder of Illa Enterprises. He is currently serving as the manager of the incubation center at CIE Vardhaman College of Engineering and as an innovation and leadership instructor at Niti Aayog. His innovation electrical pump motor starter is a very low cost and very efficient product which has saved many lives. Mr. Satya sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks for the warm introduction. I would firstly, I would say that was very impressive. The work done by SRM ECEL is really impressive, and the initiative took, which is called like the social impact, was wonderful. And rather than taking much of the time, I'll start my presentation. Let me share my screen. I hope the screen is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. So before I go into the presentation, I just want to share a small discussion me and Bakshi sir had yesterday. So he was saying a few words about like the inspiration or gyan given by the Buddha. So it's like Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, and Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. So I was sharing like we all are motivated in lives, like we all are inspired. But one thing we do commonly is like getting inspired by each other's work. And inspiration is not consistent. We need, it is like a roller coaster journey. We get inspired and again it goes down and again it goes up. So I thought, let me make this session little interactive. Like I'll share a lot of stories. I'll share how the journey has started and at what stage it is currently. And in the middle, we'll also have very productive discussion about how a journey of an entrepreneur, right from the idea till a prototype, how it works. So everyone can see a image, right? Like when you see this image, you'll be thinking like a woman is trying to help his kid to fly a kite. So in the same way, when I was 6 years old, I used to love flying kites. And it was the beginning of spring. And you all know we'll celebrate Sankranti, the festival of kites. So I was on my rooftop preparing my kite, and I could see sky full of colorful kites, and I could smell the delicious food mom was cooking for me. And it was fun and joy everywhere. And suddenly I saw a crowd gathering on the street. I thought somebody is distributing the sweets, so that I went runningly and tried to grab one. So when I went downstairs, I saw the crowd was gathering. And when I went there, there was a lifeless body of my friend lying on the ground. His kite got stuck in electrical vines, and when he tried to pull it, he got electrocuted and lost his life on spot. That incident in my childhood triggered me. I couldn't sleep alone on the bed. I couldn't even go to washroom and pee. And all my friends and relatives, rather than supporting me, they started criticizing and they started making fun of me. And I thought, like, enough, I need to overcome this fear. I need to do something. So as a young kid, what inspires us, like what motivates us? Playing video games, watching scary movies. So I thought, like, let me try this. And I started playing video games and started watching scary movies. And one day I realized that I was no more scared. But there was one question which was haunting me for a long time. What exactly killed my friend? What is electricity? So this motivated me to take electrical engineering as my journey. So when I was pursuing electrical engineering, as you all know, once you get into engineering, you will feel like, now it is like happy days. But once you get into engineering, you feel like, no, it is like Raghuvaran BTech. So many assignments, so much of hard work, so much of hardship. And first year, it will be like so much smooth. You will make friends. You like, fortunately, someone make girlfriend. So it happens, it excites, it triggers. But later, once you get backlogs, you will be coming back to the track. So in that way, it was a journey where I couldn't actually see what exactly happening. But this question, which was triggering, like what exactly killed my friend, made me look forward to do research. So I'll just share the importance of research in any entrepreneurship journey. So when I was talking about my personal journey, you could see, like, that is the point where everybody's entrepreneurship journey starts. The point is why you are starting. So once your why is clear, then the path is very clear. So the first step you need to take when you're taking entrepreneurship as a career is to do a strong research. So what is research? Coming back to the problem statement which I was trying to solve. So what is this electricity? Why these electrical accidents are happening? So according to National Crime Records Bureau, I found that in the research, there are more than 14,000 electrical accidents happening in the Telugu speaking states like Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And that number was increasing every year. And I was seeing, like, what exactly is leading to this problem. So in the research, I found that due to lack of awareness, simple negligence, and poor electrical infrastructure was the reason. So when talking back, talking about every individual entrepreneurship journey, you might be seeing like a problem. And the most important thing before identifying or before jumping into the innovation is to do a proper research. So when I said about electricity and electrical accidents, first thing which come in your mind is like electrical accident. You've seen most of the movies, Tollywood movies or cartoon, where Tom triggers or put his finger in the plug and get shocked. It is like a funny movie scenes, right? Like in Telugu movie, you see Brahmanandam getting electrical shock and we all laugh. But let me show you a small video how serious the problem is. Please watch the video.
The cost of negligence. బద్ధకానికి నిర్లక్ష్యానికి ఖరీదు చూపిస్తున్నారు. ఎంత ఖరీదు అంటే డబ్బు కాదు, ప్రాణాలు పోతాయి. నిండు ప్రాణాలు. బండి కడుగుతున్నారు, అక్కడ కరెంట్ వైర్ ఉంది, కానీ చూసుకోకుండా బండిని ఒకసారి తిప్పారు, వైర్ ఊడిపోయి నీటిలో పడింది. వైరు నీటిలో పడగానే షాక్ కొట్టి పడిపోయాడు, ఇతను పడిపోయాడు. అది ముగ్గురు ప్రాణాలు ఒకసారి పోయి, జస్ట్ ఫర్ సెకండ్స్ లో. అందుకే నీళ్ళలో ఉన్నప్పుడు స్తంభాలు పట్టుకోకండి, ప్రాణం పోయింది, నిండు ప్రాణం. స్టూడెంట్ స్తంభాన్ని జస్ట్ అలా టచ్ చేసింది వెళ్తూ వెళ్తూ. ప్రాణం పోయింది. ఎక్కడికో వెళ్లాల్సింది, పిల్లలకు తల్లి, ఓ తల్లి కుమార్తె ఆ ఇంటి వాళ్ళకి ఎంతమందికి దుఃఖం. విడిచిపెట్టదు ఆ కరెంటు, ప్రాణం పోయేదాకా వదిలిపెట్టదు. ఆ కరెంటు జాగ్రత్తగా వాడుకుంటే పనిచేస్తుంది, దాంతో ఆడుకుంటే ప్రాణాలు తీస్తుంది. పిల్లలకు చెప్పండి, ఇంట్లో వాళ్ళకు కూడా సేఫ్టీగా ఉండండి రా బాబు అంటే వినరు. ఆ వెల్డింగ్ చేసేటప్పుడు నిలబడ్డాడు, పక్కన నీళ్లున్నాయి, హెల్మెట్ కానీ ఏమీ పట్టుకోకుండా వెల్డింగ్ చేస్తున్నాడు. ఆ వైరుడు తన కాలు మీద పడి తన ప్రాణం పోతుంది. ఎక్కడ చిన్న బ్యాలెన్స్ తప్పాడంటే నీటిలో పడ్డాడు, కరెంట్ షాక్ కొట్టింది. తల్లిదండ్రులు ఎంత రోధించినా తిరిగి ప్రాణం రాదు. నీళ్లు వర్షాకాలంలో వెళ్ళేటప్పుడు ఆ నీళ్ల దగ్గర మనం జాగ్రత్త పడాలి, ఇష్టానుసారంగా నడవకూడదు. ఆ బిడ్డకి షాక్ కొట్టింది, ఒకరి తర్వాత ఒకరికి షాక్ కొడుతూనే ఉంది. రక్షించడానికి పోయిన వాళ్ళు కూడా ప్రాణం పోతుంది. ఆ పెద్ద ఆయన చనిపోయాడు. అది మోసుకొని వస్తున్నాడు, సహాయపడుతున్నాడు, కానీ పక్కన వైర్ ఉంది చూసుకోలే. జాగ్రత్తగా ఉండండి. ఆయన ఏదో వెళ్తూ వెళ్తూ ఆ పక్కన నడవకుండా పాపం వైర్ పట్టుకున్నాడు, ప్రాణం పోయింది. భర్త ఇప్పుడే వస్తాడు కదా, ఏదో ఒకటి వేయడానికి వెళ్తున్నాడు అనుకుంది ఆవిడ. ఎంతసేపటికి రావట్లే, వెళ్ళి చెక్ చేయడానికి వెళ్తే అది ప్రాణం పోయింది. ఆమె కూడా కొట్టింది షాక్. డ్రైవర్ దిగుతున్నాడు, కానీ ఆ వెహికల్ కి కరెంట్ వైర్లు అంటుకున్నాయి. పాపం అంత బలమైన వ్యక్తి కూడా షాక్ కొట్టి అక్కడే ఉండిపోయాడు. విడిపించుకోవడానికి ప్రయత్నిస్తున్న ప్రాణం వదిలిపెట్టట్లేదు. ముగ్గురు యవనస్తుల జీవితాలు వాళ్ళ వెనక ఎంతమంది ఆధారపడినారో, కానీ అక్కడ ఏదో చిన్న తేడా జరిగింది, రెండు ప్రాణకాలు కలిసిపోయింది.
So as you all saw, like how serious the problem is. So now when I said we need to identify the root causes. So when I was talking about the problem, I found that most of the electrical accidents are happening where farmers are the major victims in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. When I said about farmers, we live in India, right? Where more than 70 to 80% of communities directly and indirectly depending on agriculture. So we know how important the agriculture is, but did we ever realize that how the electrical infrastructure is in this community? And when I talk about electricity and farming, most of the people might be thinking, sir, there are freshwater lakes, why they need electricity, why can't they cultivate? Don't you think motors play a major role in agriculture or farming? Yes, right? So when you see this picture, I'll just give a brief what exactly this picture is. This is like a switch. This is called three-phase electrical motor starter. So this is like on and off button. So I want to ask a small question. Maybe due to time constraint, we can't on and off the mic. So the question is, where exactly is on and off in this picture? So I used to ask this question, and most of the people used to say, sir, this is on and off button. Or some people used to say, sir, this red light or green light is on and off button. But no. Let me tell you, the small line you see here, the green line and the red line, this is on and off. And even here, on and off. So just imagine how dangerous infrastructure is in rural communities. So identifying this problem, I wanted to find a solution. So when I spoke about like what exactly is causing this problem, I said lack of awareness, simple negligence, and infrastructure. So what we can do to create awareness? We can do awareness camps. So I started doing awareness camps, and later while doing awareness camps, I realized there is a huge need of innovation. So we find a problem there. We find that the electrical infrastructure is too damaged, and we need to find an innovation. So that triggered me to find an innovation. So like we heard this term a lot, right? Like innovation. Many people say social innovation or corporate innovation. What exactly is innovation? So can anybody unmute yourself and say what is innovation for you? Anyone? Anyone from organizers? What is innovation? Very simple question. Am I audible?
According to me, innovation is like improving upon the already existing technology.
Great. Yeah, that's a part of innovation, right? And some people say innovation, like most of the students think innovation means something new or something which didn't existing and we are trying to come up with a new innovation, but innovation has different terms. So let me share a small video which explains what innovation means. Please watch the video.
What is innovation? Life is made up of dots. Many, in fact most people, believe that the dots they see every day are all the dots there are. So life goes along according to these known dots. Decisions and solutions are based on these commonly known dots, as well as many conclusions too. Some companies build their entire businesses on these known dots. This we know as the status quo, business as usual. Then one day, someone comes along and sees one or more dots beyond the commonly agreed upon dots. Dots that others missed, dots that are ignored, dots that others have long since forgotten about. Some like these new dots and celebrate this new discovery, liking how things currently are and comfortable with everyday dots. Some protest these new dots. Some even claim they are invalid, or worse, are imaginary dots that don't even exist. Yet, it's these new dots that potentially change everything. What is the source of these new dots? Notions, unexpected connections, ideas, possibilities, and imagination. Fire was one of these dots. So was the wheel, and the bicycle, and the automobile, and the computer, as well as the internet, the smartphone, and the tablet. In fact, many of today's common dots were at one time uncommon, newly introduced dots. So what is innovation? Those other dots, the ones others miss, and having the certainty to know that the dots you see are not only valid, but necessary if the world is to move forward.
So as in the video, you can see like they talk about innovation, right? Wheel was once an innovation, so as bicycle, and so as automobile. So when wheel was invented, nobody would even think like, okay, can we make a bicycle with this wheels, like combination of wheels? And nobody would even imagine we can like make a automobile out of it, right? And as you notice in the conclusion, he would be saying all these innovations are necessary to make this world move forward. So as a part of the coming back to the problem which I was talking about, there's a need of solution. So as you can see in the picture, like this is an innovation which we started working on. It is a fiberglass material box which is completely shockproof, and the technology you can see like it doesn't had any wires hanging. It just has an on and off button. So now when we have an innovation in our hand, what is the next thing we need to do? Validating our idea. So as a part of validation, what is the best thing we can do? Talk to our beneficiaries. Who is our immediate beneficiaries? Who is our direct and indirect beneficiaries? So what I did, rather than like, believe me, as this innovation is for farmers, if I would go directly to the farmers and talk, they would not even let me talk to them about the innovation. So what I did, I started talking to the like children of the farmers, because they can understand the innovation properly then, and they can understand the need of the innovation, and they can properly explain or guide their families about how this innovation will help them save their lives. So in that way, we have conducted the awareness camps in numerous educational institutions where their farmers' livelihood was farming. So in that way, we started validating our idea. We got so much of inputs where we can improve our innovation. So what is the next thing we need to improve our innovation or take that innovation into market? We need money. The best thing everybody would say is like, sir, how to make money? Like even in my innovation center, I see most of the students come and say, sir, I have this idea. Sir, how I can raise money to take this innovation into the market? And let me share you what my mentor shared with me when I was starting my innovation journey, like my entrepreneurship journey. The best people who can fund you are like 3 F's: friends, family, and fool. Fools. Like, it sounds funny, but let me clearly explain you. Like friends are the one who trust you, who are there with you, and who are potential team members for your innovation journey, right? They'll trust you, and their money is not all about the physical money. They'll put their efforts, time in it. And talking about family, if you can't even convince your family about your startup, do you think your startup will be having a mileage to go further? No. And when I said fools, it is not like a funny way. It is like the people who have money and who want to invest but don't know where to invest. And when you show them a proper vision, a proper impact, they will help you fund. So in the same way, I started pitching my like startup idea to an incubation center called BVIC. It's Bala Vikasa Incubation Center. It is exclusively to support social entrepreneurs and people who are creating impact in the rural communities. As you can see, the reason why I shared this picture was like it was like a challenge for me. Let me share the experience which I had that day. I was incubated, and when I was incubated, they said, we'll give you an opportunity to pitch. When your pitch was successful, we'll fund your startup with 5 lakh rupees. I was like, it was like a challenge. There were like more than 20,000 farmers in a gathering in a place called Fatima Nagar. It is close to Warangal, Hyderabad. So I was like, okay, what is that short pitch? I only got 2 minutes. So I was thinking like, what exactly I can share to convince all these farmers. If I talk about innovation, they will not understand. If I talk about like saving lives, they will not understand. So I need to share some stories to make farmers understand like how big the problem is and how this innovation create an impact. So I shared a small story. I think I'll make it as a suspense, and in the end of the presentation, I'll say what exactly I shared so that farmers were convinced. So farmers were like convinced, and we got a break. And in the break time, I could see more than the fund I raised from the incubation center in a single day. I got more than 30 orders from a farmers and 200 queries from the entire crowd which is there in that organic farming convention. So when we calculate it, it was around 6 lakh rupee business in a single day. For a startup, it was a very big number. And looking at that number, I was fortunate to see the CEO of that incubation center. He quickly came to me and said, you are incubated in our startup and you got the grant. So that's the reason, like raising funds is important, but believing in your idea, believing in your innovation is also very important. So try to spend more time with your beneficiaries, validate it, try to improve your innovation, and in that way, the impact would be more. And talking about like as a part of fundraising, I started looking into international funds, and in that way, I found one of the organization named Kanti. It is International Institute for Social Entrepreneurs, where they select people from different part of the world, like who are working, whose work is aligned towards social change. And in 2018, I received a scholarship from them. It was around 14 lakh rupees scholarship. And I was, more than the money I got, I was so fortunate to interact with people from 23 different countries. You can see the image. Like everybody had very unique experience. So I'm an engineer, and there was an architect, there was like a journalist, there was like different experience. Somebody who's working on disability sector, somebody who's working on women empowerment, somebody who's working on education. So this way, like when I started realizing that the way you can improve your social innovation is to increasing the impact. So there, my entire idea got like bootstrapped, and I came up with a proper structure. So the structure is what called social enterprise. So most of you might heard this word like social enterprise, like social entrepreneurship, or people calling themselves as a social entrepreneur. Before it was like people used to say, I'm an entrepreneur. Now, most of the social impact creating innovators are calling themselves as social entrepreneurs. And many of you might have this question like, what is meant by the social entrepreneurship? So we all know that all the sectors who create like social impact or do social work, who are registered as a non-government organization or non-profit organization, they're NGOs, right? What are the potential source of income for NGOs? There is funds. There is funds from either philanthropists, either they write proposals and they get donations. from the government or any donating partner. They are called NGOs. On the other hand, take a traditional enterprise. They have their own product or service to offer and they make money. So just try to integrate this both. Integrate NGO and a traditional business. It becomes social enterprise. So social enterprise main theme would be creating social impact, but they use business as a tool. So with this vision, I started a social enterprise and named it as Kranti. And our organization was aligned with 9 UN Sustainable Development Goals. So I don't want to go into depth about UN Sustainable Development Goals. As most of us know, like there were 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, which we try to achieve till 2030. And every goal is aligned to one of the particular problem. And in my social enterprise, we were aligned to 9 UN Sustainable Development Goals. As you can see, we are aligned to no poverty, because all the farmers, when you see, they are the breadwinners. When the breadwinner of the family is no more, the entire family is into poverty, right? And this way we are saving lives and we are helping families to come out of the poverty. And we also involve women. That's the reason we have gender equality, we have industry innovation infrastructure. And the main theme of the project Kranti is like promoting electrical safety, education, and accessibility to this rural community. And as I said, when a breadwinner is losing their life, we are creating an awareness, and we also have a solution to offer to the community which are already suffering with this problem. So how to solve that problem? So we used to train these rural communities on renewable energy technology. For example, we have a beneficiary in a village called Aleru. So there is one family who lost their father in electrical accident. So there was a very young kid who was talented, who completed his +2, and he was looking for opportunities. So what I did, we helped them to assemble the electrical starter. We helped them to create or maintain the starter. It is like creating a livelihood for him. And till now, he's making around 12 to 13,000 every month and helping his family. So in that way, we have created a sustainable impact in some of the communities. And this is how we work. And talking about the validation, me talking about my project can give you a glimpse, right? Okay, Satya has created some impact, but we can validate our work by these newspaper articles. And like very recently, before pandemic, I received an award from the Finance Minister of Telangana, Mr. Harish Rao Garu, as the most promising startup under category of the farmers safety. And in 2019, I received an award from the Commonwealth London. It is the Youth Achievement Award for Excellence in Development Work. And all these newspaper articles or awards doesn't make me happy or doesn't make me feel like, yes, we are creating something big in the market. The smile which we see on the farmer's face, on the beneficiary's face, that yes, this innovation is helping them to stay safe. They are safe. They are no more exposed to harmful electrical infrastructure. That smile motivates us, drives us to create much bigger impact in most of the communities. So till now, our innovation has reached till 14,000 people across Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Kerala. And we have directly impacted 800 families with our innovation. With this, I want to share a small video. It is like an example which talks about social innovation. So as I was talking about how my innovation has created impact, this is a brief example about one of the social enterprise. Please watch the video.
Did you know 54% of India faces high water scarcity challenges? Unfortunately, we still waste water. 50% of fresh water supply is wasted. And 70% of all wastage is during sanitary flushes. Most commercial buildings still have conventional sanitary systems, and which flush out millions of liters of water daily, which have odor issues, requires constant cleaning, and they use costly sensors which needs maintenance. Are you looking for a green solution? However, about a waterless, odorless and hygienic solution built for India. Introducing Nature Sani No Odor, India's first indigenous odorless and waterless system. Nature Sani No Odor prevents germs and odor, saves your money and time, and it is eco-friendly. Nature Sani beats conventional systems in terms of odor control, operation cost and time. With Nature Sani No Odor, you can save over 1.5 lakh liters of water and avoid 50 liters of cleaning chemicals. Durability of the cartridge is certified by CPIT. Our green cartridge is specially designed for Indian conditions and comes with 2 years limited warranty. Your return on investment is guaranteed. Keep India clean. Choose Nature Sani No Odor.
So as you can see, the small video which I shared, it is the problem of the water scarcity in India and how a small innovation is trying to solve that water scarcity problem in India. And when you talk about innovation or when you talk about all these beautiful ideas which come up in the market, every idea or every innovation is either solving a problem or creating the comfort to the humanity, right? So when we talk about ideas which are solving problems, they are fine. But the ideas which are creating or improving comfort of the human, these innovations are making us lazy, and like it is like not helping us to enhance our life. But when we talk about all these unique ideas which are solving the problems in the grassroots level, and come on, like you have identified a problem, I have identified a problem. Together, collaboratively, we can work and create much better impact to solve the problems in the society. So with this, I'll conclude my session and over to the organizers. Thank you.
Satya, Mr. Satya?
Yes, sir.
The story you said is a suspense. What made all the farmers come to you within 2 minutes? That still is a suspense.
So the short pitch like I made was like I was standing on the stage and there were farmers. So I was like, I'll quickly share what I shared with them. So I shared a small story which when I was doing research in the field, I heard about the story and I shared the same story with them. So there was one young girl and a father. They both went to a field and a father was like carrying a young girl to the field and they both went. It was a happy sunny day. And the father said, like, just play here under the tree, I'll come back. And the father went, he tried to access his motor or his infrastructure. And the daughter who was playing, she was waiting for his father to come. It's been an hour, it's been 2 hours, and suddenly the daughter was panicking and she went to check what exactly happened. And when she went to check his father, there was a lifeless body. Like she could see her father is no more. And I said, like, if you want to avoid these kind of incidents in your own life, please come to our stall, visit the innovation, and that will really help to solve this kind of problem. I just shared a small story and I was surprised to see the people were like crowded in my stall. And that was the first initial experience of any entrepreneur who could trigger himself like to continue his journey. So this is what I shared. Like I just shared a small like experience, the real life experience of the problem. And in that way, farmers were triggered and they were like people who were standing on my stall. So this is what I shared, Bakshiji.
Thank you so much. In fact, that's like you were telling, and like the impact, I could feel the impact within me, and I'm sure it's the same thing for all the listeners out here. It's not about a story or you doing something. It's just like igniting one candle with the other. Even if we are successful in igniting one more candle,
True.
the purpose is solved.
True.
Thank you so much. We are really grateful that you shared.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I'll just pass it over to
Yes,
Tushar.
like if any students have any questions, like I'm open for the questions, and I'm sharing my email ID and contact number and the social media. You can just type my name and you can connect me anytime, and I would be happy to collaborate and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Satya sir, for sharing your incredible journey with us. What you have done is truly incredible. And now I want to introduce our second speaker for today's evening, Dr. Aksha Agha ma'am. Dr. Aksha Agha holds a PhD from JNU in Historical Studies. She is currently Assistant Professor, Department of History, SRM University, Andhra Pradesh. Besides, she has researched extensively on issues of human trafficking at TISS Mumbai for National Research Study on Human Trafficking in India that aim to analyze the trends, magnitude, modus operandi, response mechanism, and vulnerability context of human trafficking in India, and research on human rights violations on India-Bangladesh border in the state of West Bengal with Human Rights Defenders Alert India. She has been consulting with different organizations, including the Center for Equity Studies, New Delhi, conducting sessions on data collection tools and approaches to empower grassroots activists to effectively observe, analyze, and document reality and processes on the ground through participatory research. Her understanding of participatory research was enhanced while working as a consultant at Partners in Change, Praxis Institute for Participatory Research in New Delhi. So, ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Tushar. So I would first like to say that primarily I thought of introducing this concept of participatory research that I have learned myself, not as part of my curriculum when I was a student. I want to emphasize because we tend to think of our lives being around what we study. To be actually contributing or in a way engaging with society around you does not really need you to be in a curriculum to do it. So besides whatever you're studying, you always have this opportunity, you always have this, I think you should always have this passion to engage with the world around you. So this is primarily what, if I tell you, Tushar just mentioned to you that I am a trained, somebody who's done research in historical studies, which means I'm a historian by profession, and that I teach history in Department of History. Now, besides this, the other aspect of my, I'll say, my existence, I would clearly associate with that, was that consistently I was engaging with communities at the margins, communities which are very vulnerable, and how do we understand and contextualize their vulnerability to understand what has to be done for their betterment. So my journey started with, while researching for these communities that live on the border of India, Bangladesh, in the state of West Bengal. And the idea was to listen to the voices of the people. It was not to go with some preconceived notions or to have your own understanding to be imposed on them. The idea was to go and reach out to people and hear what they have to say. Here I think I was introduced to the idea of participation. Participation on my end was as a listener. Participation on the side of the community was a speaker. So since we are speaking on the platform, which is specifically on social impact, so my whole emphasis is, no matter which field we come from, how we engage with the community should be our prime focus. Because you might be doing anything. You might be helping them innovate and helping with them. Whatever Satya has done is just incredible. But the idea is when you engage with the community, with what dynamic do you interact with the community, also gives a sense of empowerment to the community. So this engagement, whether understanding what they need, whether planning how to do, whether planning what should the response mechanism, what actions have to be taken, how actions have resulted, all of these things require your continuous engagement with the community. So how you interact in development sector, I'll say, there's a very clear term which has emerged, is known as participatory action research. Now, I would go through my slides and I'll tell you exactly what this concept is. And whenever you take up a project, whenever you think of doing something, there are certain things about you being aware of your position, you being aware of your privileges, you being aware of what you are and how you're interacting with the community, which is vulnerable in comparison to you. So in that context, the whole research is not only about what material, what benefits that reach the community, but also the sense of empowerment, the sense of agency that they acquire in the whole process. So not just the benefit, but also the process itself becomes very important. So whereas Satya has laid a very fun, I think, amazing ground for me to just begin and make you understand that how community should engage. So I'll just share my screen. Just tell me if the PPT is. Right. So can you all see? So when we begin researching with communities, specifically when I was working with TISS also in Bombay. So here, studying a very typical subject, a very challenging subject of human trafficking. And the project was so that we were a team of 20 people from diverse backgrounds. I was just one person from history. There were psychologists, there were people who were into social work, there were people who were from economics. So we had this diverse team to ensure that we get the perspective right. So we had this whole lawyers, I mean, people from, one of the colleagues were also from, who's been into business, management, but he was there as a team member to be able to understand how even for industries, labor gets trafficked. So the perspective to be complete, we had a very diverse team. This is to emphasize no matter what you study, you can always have an eye, a lens to actually study the society, or to see that how your work can contribute to betterment of particular community. So here we begin with the understanding of what is participatory approaches and methods. Now, when we hear the term participatory, it is primarily to make you understand that development sector has evolved this terminology only, I think, in last 2 decades. Before that, the idea of doing something for someone was so hierarchical. When I say that, it means that you have the top-down approach, that the people sitting in power will be the ones who will decide what to be done for the people. On the other hand, the development sector now has changed its discourse towards bottom up, which means we involve community in decision making. When Satya was mentioning about research, so when whatever program you take up, whatever project you intend to take up, whatever group you identify to work with, whatever village location you intend to work with, in any research that you begin, the first step of understanding where the problem is itself is a step where you need to engage with the community. Because sometimes what happens that we come from a particular position and our lens and looking at somebody's life is very different than what they actually want from us. So the whole emphasis then shifts that, the traditional research that gave a lot of power to people already in power actually shifted the focus to the communities, where you emphasize on bottom-up approach. So bottom-up approach is the approach that we understand in participatory research. So there is a whole, the whole shift happens that you are not working on people, you're not working for people, but the idea is that you're working with people. So when you say with people, which means you take them as part of your, I'll say, venture, where you sit and talk to them, if you hear them. The very important aspect of doing any social impact is to be a good listener. So when you have to actually make a difference in somebody's life, the point is you have to know what difference one wants has to come from the person and not from you. So you then have to sit and talk to the person to understand, to the group, to understand what is it that they want. So the whole discourse, the whole focus then is that you have to work with people, and you're not working on people or you're not working for people. Because the terminologies of working on people, working for people, gives you a higher position than the community. And this is where we have to first learn to come at a level equal with the community, where we have to understand that engagement with society and definitely with communities that are vulnerable, breaking those power hierarchies should be a prime and first step. Yeah. So this, this approach then, this approach is fundamental in social impact, because that impact is truly community centric, right? So here, what happens that the participation is not tokenism, that you're just talking to them and you're going without giving them a, when, as you enter a space, for instance, you enter a village, and in a village, you want to know what this village actually wants. So instead of you sitting with them and start speaking at a, start dominating the discourse, it is then their participation is very passive. They are listeners and they are not speakers. So here, when participatory methodology happens, here you have to sit and listen, and therefore the participation from the community has to be active and not passive. So this gives a lot of the sense of dignity. It gives a sense of empowerment. It gives a sense of articulating yourself what you want and not being dependent on others to tell you what you need, right? So this has a very subtle way of empowering communities who otherwise do not get the space to get that agency. So this whole process of your intervention can actually also be a space where the communities get empowered vis-a-vis exercising their agency, right? So then participatory research, if I have to tell you, is not that you're giving voice to someone. No, people already have voice. The problem is that we don't hear the voice. So here, the focus is, it's not that it is that you're giving voice to someone. The focus is that you are actually sitting and hearing the unheard, people who already have voice but are not heard, right? So this also helps us, in the whole process that helps to visibilize the issues that a community is facing. Now, once you start listening to the community, this comes with a sense that you're giving value to local knowledge. Communities themselves have, they are a resource. They themselves have clear knowledge of what they want and what are the solutions and how it can be done. So respecting that, to not only respecting, but acknowledging that communities themselves can be a source of knowledge is something that we have to be open to. So there will be instances where you have to be open to the idea that there are shifting perspectives, which means that there would be things that the community will know better than you, and there would be things that you would know better than the community. There would be things that both of you know at equal level, and there would be things that none of you know, and you will get to know while you are discussing. So the whole idea that you are the primary ones who's somebody, urban educated, going to work in a village, more powerful in the sense of all knowing, it actually builds a huge gap between who you want to work with and you yourselves as a facilitator. So in that sense, that attitude, participatory approach methods, first change has to come in your own attitude, which means that you have to become less dominating in your demeanor. You have to be less overpowering over the communities, and you have to be more of a listener than a speaker. Now, so what happens in this participatory action research? So what happens is that you are ensuring, communities' participation in, you're ensuring participation to even identify what they want. So it's not that you are telling them what you want. It's that the participation happens as first step during research, that what is it that the communities are lacking and what are they looking for. Second step is that you ask them what kind of action they expect and what would it lead to. And then after that action has been taken, and where communities themselves become part of that action, they are the ones who take the action. Then you again come and see the result of it and do research to see how is it different from your first research. So this is a cycle that continues until you reach your level, what you have to reach. So the participatory action research gives a chance even for the evolution of the community. It gives us a chance for the community to break certain ideas about themselves and to empower themselves in furthering the agenda and of course their own demands. Now, how is participatory approach different from conventional approach? When I'm trying to tell you this, because there are NGOs that Satya was talking about. These are NGOs funded by various organizations. And many of these institutions and organizations, they traditionally follow the conventional approach to development. And then there is one set of organizations that follow participatory approaches. So the difference is that in conventional approach, the problem identification is by the researcher or the institute, whereas participatory approaches rely on community's knowledge, and to know from the community, they would decide where the problem is. The identification of the problem is community's right. The second part, that interpretation, they traditionally use academic concepts, whereas participatory approach tries to use local concept, value local knowledge. Similarly, if you think of the presentation of findings, the researcher who is primarily doing the research presents to the donor. Whereas in participatory research, it is locally accessible and useful, which means it is integral that whatever has been collected, the action has to be taken compulsorily if it's a participatory approach. So when you are taking a group's participation in identifying of issues, the next step logically would be to give them solution to their problems, which means that there is action taken. Whereas in the conventional approach, there is necessarily not action. So these are the ways in which, how conventional approaches and participatory approaches are very different from each other. And participatory approach keeps community in the center, in identification, in action, in solution, in reevaluation, and also in any kind of a knowledge that is produced, actually shared knowledge between the community and the researcher. So then any research, if it's not truly participatory, then whatever outputs come, it sometimes leads to situations, the outputs are such which actually are not needed by the community. Or sometimes the outputs are such which are damaging to the community. Because why? Because the first instance, while you had to do the research and find and identify the problem, you did not consult or make it participatory for the community to be actually the first giver of opinion of where the problem lies. So there are multiple instances that we've seen from the field itself where, where you do not ask the community and you assume certain things. The solutions don't even, that solutions that appear, they appear for you to be solutions are actually something that perpetuates certain problems for the communities. So here, the emphasis is that participation is something that gives a sense of ownership to the community. So if you give people a chance to participate in their own development process, to tell them, do a survey, to understand and to do focus group discussions, to understand what is it that they want. So once they sense that kind of responsibility, okay, we are the ones who have to set the agenda. We are the ones who have to take action. We are the ones who have to give suggestions. Then the community also feels responsible. It feels responsible. It gives them a sense of ownership that whatever is happening for our good, and we are participants in this change. So, it brings forward the community perspective. It helps build trust, acceptance, and accountability. Now, on the other hand, very important part of participatory research is that it helps you identify. Government has umpteen number of programs and schemes. So where the problem is, why certain schemes are not reaching, where the real loophole is, and what are the kind of solutions that we need, it really helps in that kind of a situation. I'll give you one example that we were doing this TISS study across 7 states and 120 villages traveled. Among those, most of the villages had a lot of problem the way Manrega was being functioning on ground. So we know that there are a lot of power hierarchies in villages. So many of the times, the most vulnerable in the village would have to submit their Manrega card to the Sarpanch. And he would be the one who would give work to people closer to him. And the person, the vulnerable group's cards would be used by the other group. And the money would be transferred, of course, to the dominant group. So a lot of ways these loopholes was something that came out when we went into these surveys, talked to the communities in detail. So we did not decide the problem. We didn't say there is no work for Manrega. Work is there. Where the problem is, when the community told us that the cards are being taken away and given to someone else. So the identification of problem was so nuanced that, at a distance, it might seem to us it's just about work not being available. Whereas the problem was in the way the nexus was preventing certain groups of accessing problems, right? Work opportunities. So this is something very fundamental, specifically when we have to assess and see how government program schemes are being, implemented and how resources are being optimally used. So when we talk about participatory process, and no matter which field you are, and no matter what change you want to seek in the society, it has to be at multiple levels. So it is first of all, at the personal level, where you actually start, looking at your own behavior and attitude. And that is specifically your body language, your way of talking to people, your language, the words you use while talking, your eyes, your sitting posture. If the group is sitting on the ground, you cannot be sitting on the chair. You have to sit with the group on the ground. So all these are very, it may appear to be very small, but these things break power hierarchy. And actually you appear to be a person who's ready to listen. So first change, the first consciousness, when you have to actually make a process participatory, is a change in your own attitude and behavior. Second is that what methods do you use? Like you have a FGD is a focus group discussion, there is social mapping, there is a transect walk, there is household survey, there are in-depth interviews, there are various methods. So in methods, how you conduct, what you do, how do you make those methods participatory is the second step. And the third step is that how much is the institution with which you're associated is enabling an environment where both personal behavior and methods can be participatory. So when these three are there, it's a perfect situation for you to actually encourage participatory processes. The other, when we talk about this, the personal attitudes and behavior, this leads us to another very important aspect, that why is it important to regulate our own attitude and behavior while interacting with communities for whom we have a very good agenda. But no matter how good our agenda is, our interaction with the community would leave them with a sense of dignity or empowerment, or absolutely, make them feel, hopeless. So while you might be thinking you are doing good, but your interaction will definitely have an impact on the community. So here I want to make you aware there are certain power dynamics that are already inherent in your engagement with the community. You have to understand that the research that you're doing and the group that you are working with, it already has a kind of power dynamics. Similarly, the research and the itself and the researcher, there is a power dynamics between the two. There is a power dynamics between the research and the researched. And the other most important power dynamic that exists is the community itself among researched. And this can be, on various social locations. There can be power dynamics based on gender, which means women not being very vocal. There can be power dynamics based on class. People who do not have land as laborers live in the one corner of the village, or caste-based, where lower caste are supposed to restrict themselves to a particular hamlet inside a village, do not have access to resources. So this is another kind of power dynamics that we see. Race, religion, these are various ways where within a village, within a community, you can see subgroups and how powers dynamics function according to each of these social locations. So therefore, for us, it is to understand that first step is that it is not a homogeneous group. That power dynamics and what is already being done and what change needs to be occurred. Anything in that respect has to acknowledge that you are dealing with power equation at every level. And when you enter a village and you think you're doing a group discussion to see what are the problems that the villagers have, you have to see that every group from the village is represented in that group discussion. It doesn't have to be that only a dominant, gender, only men, a dominant caste, or a dominant religious group, or dominant ethnic group dominates the discourse of the focus group discussion. So in that group discussion, it is your duty as a facilitator to ensure representation of each of these groups in a village. right? So, and then once you're aware of this power dynamics, you will be looking at the way how community is divided, how hierarchy exists within the community, and then comes your role as a facilitator. Now, what are the ways that, as facilitator, what is expected out of you, that what I've written here is what hinders participation, which means that what kind of behavior you exhibit that creates a kind of, I'll say, restricted engagement from the community. So when you are the one who is speaking the most, it's a monologue, right? And your monologue is coming as only passing on information from one end to the other, and you're not receptive of what people have to say. You can hinder group discussion when you become a little biased or judgmental about a particular section of people in that group. Or when you're talking, your sense of superiority about yourself, where you're coming from, who you are, gets conveyed to the group of people. Or that even that you're a messiah, that you're doing something very good for them, and that you are beaming light for them. So that hierarchy has to be addressed, and it can be addressed only with the person who has the power. And in this situation, it is us, because we are trying to engage with community and bring change. And at any given context, the community should not see us as some kind of a godly figure. No, they have to see at people with whom they can talk and interact and engage with us equally. The other thing is the way we present ourselves, because if you're going to villages, you can't be very ostentatious the way you dress up. You have to be very humble in your dressing, in the way you interact. They have very specific sensibilities. So how do you present yourself with the community is also, will send a message across that how you engage with people. But the other thing is sometimes you don't realize you may not be speaking, but the way you sit and stand and look at people, your body language itself can be very dominating. Some kind of words, you may be speaking very limited, but what kinds of words you use can also hinder participation. So all these factors, these you have to keep in mind when you think of yourself as a facilitator. As a facilitator, you are supposed to speak less, because your idea is to get things out of the community, to know what is it that they want, right? So since I have done hindrance, I'll skip this body map. So a good facilitator is somebody who is more approachable, who is somebody who's listening more and talking less, who is of course not judgmental, who is empathetic, and whatever disagreement with the community is doing it very respectfully. It's conveying, talking, and the way of engagement is that you begin with listening. You do not impose your thoughts on them, and at the first instance, they might not be very acceptable of your ideas, but a consistent dialogue with them is something which will lead to evolution also of the community. So this is about the facilitator, patience, the intent to come to a consensus with the community in a way where they are equal givers in the communication is something that a good facilitator will actually come to. And what are the factors or indicators that you could use to check if your engagement with communities are participatory, are equal or not? So not speaking more than the participants. If you observe yourself and you think that in this discussion, I'm the one who's speaking more, so definitely the community has lost the sense of conveying their things to you. Secondly, whatever activities that you are undertaking is benefiting you, or is it benefiting the participants? For instance, if you're just collecting data and going back and just writing your paper, then the activities are just benefiting the facilitator and they are not benefiting the participants at all. So in that case, it is not a participatory action research. So now I think I spoke to you about this while I was talking about the differences within the community within a group when there are power hierarchies. So I'll skip this slide here. Now, the other thing is, while this gives you a context of participatory processes, and when Tushar was telling us about the Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, that specifically The policy itself says it has to be done through participatory methods. It has to be done through participatory research. So what it means is that you have to employ certain tools. And these tools are like social and resource mapping. So here what you see, a group of villagers, they're drawing infrastructure and natural resources and which community lives around these resources. So you can see the accessibility of various communities in a village to natural resources and infrastructural resources. This is the first thing that you do. Then there is a transect walk, which means that you walk along the village, talking to local people, understanding, observing, asking, listening, questioning, and then in that you make certain observations about the living conditions of the people, and of course the diversity of, I'll say, marginalization within a village setup would also be different for different set of groups. The other tool is household survey, focus group discussions, interview, ranking and scoring. All these methods have a fundamental or underlining line of ensuring participation of the community in a way where we get to know what is it that they want and what are the actions that we need to take. So when we do the next session for Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, we'll be doing these tools in details, and all of you who are interested can be part of that session too. A very important aspect of participatory research, or I'll say any time when you are collecting data, engaging with communities, there are certain ethics that you have to follow. And these are that in any way your engagement should not harm the community. And that should be your starting point. So data privacy, what you collect should not be shared. Of course, that's fundamental. Being completely transparent is that who you are and why you have come to engage with the communities should be pronounced in detail to the community. Why you are there, why you're collecting data, what is the purpose. You have to take consent. You have to ask them whether they are ready to give that kind of information. It's not that just because we are people from educated backgrounds, we can enter, barge into villages where we have come for household survey, and yes, what is your name? And we start doing the no. You have to enter a house and tell them what it is and take the consent, whether they are ready for the survey. Similarly, when you take photos and videos, you should always take permission. And while using that videos and photos, you should make sure that none of the faces become very clear in the sense that individualized photos. It can be a group photograph without giving identity to the person who's there in the picture. So these are various, ethical things that one has to keep in mind while engaging with communities. Just because we are there with cameras and they can take pictures doesn't mean that they do not have a sense of privacy. So also while engaging with a group, there would be people coming from very marginalized background, like the sexual minority, the person with disabilities, minorities, lower caste, tribes. And in all of these groups, there should not be any kind of discrimination that goes on from your side, that should be conveyed from your side to the community. So these are, very important ones that I'm highlighting right now, because some of you might not be part of this later on, but here, these are the most fundamental things that you have to keep in mind while engaging with the community. And all of this I have learned not as somebody who's done a curriculum on this. All this has come through experience and getting to know and work with communities over 5-6 years. So yeah, I'll end with this and hand over to Tushar.
Udyan sir, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. So that was fantastic, because we are trying to do something really big and impactful. And for that, a systematic approach is a must. So I'm very much, thanks word is overused. I cannot thank you all enough to spare your time and give some light on of what life exactly is. But before we go to the close, or I'll also share a link, Tushar will share a link, not right now. I'll share a few slides creating that why we are talking about social entrepreneurship, why we are talking about mapping, why we are talking about all these things. Let me share a few slides. I'll not take more than 5 minutes, I suppose. Where is the slide? Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. All right. So It's an entire set of things that I generally used to take for students who are interested into entrepreneurship to create that why. So I'll make it very easy for you. Open Google and type that investment made by Indian government into entrepreneurship development or similar, something like that. You will have crores of results. Click anyone and you will find amount like this: 10,000 crores, 20,000 crores, 5.5 lakh crores. So don't you think that's not natural? Because 5-6 years back, no one knew about entrepreneurship innovation. Trust me, ask your big brothers and sisters. If you're a student, that daddy, that bhaiya, Anna, Akka, is there anything like entrepreneurship, innovation 4-5 years back or 6-7 years back? But why suddenly government has come with such huge fund, right? Incubators everywhere, so social initiatives everywhere. So anyone from the audience, maybe from the panel, can answer this. Why suddenly government has come up? Is some problem with us or the government? Government is crazy that we have to invest in crores, so let's invest in something where people are not even aware. As I'll just answer, as Tushar said, that this society is just like a body. If one part is damaged, if one part is not functioning properly, right, what will happen? The entire body will suffer. Either we have to cut that part away and remain handicapped forever, or we have to cure that. We don't understand. I'll give you a very small story I read long back, maybe 10-12 years back, that a farmer was doing harvest, bumper harvest every year after year, and people are amazed. So people from other countries, villages, they came to interview the farmers. Ki, farmer, you're doing bumper harvest, like you have the best crop ever, right? What's your secret? So we want to know, what's your secret? So not only that, so also the interviewer saw that not only him, that he's helping the other farmers also nearby to do the same, but his farm has the best crops. So he asked, although you have the best crops, why you're helping the other farmers to do their best and all that? So he smiled and said, look, friend, this farming is not just mine or your or his. It's a cycle. So my farming is based on the pollens that I get, right? Bees carry pollens and bees do not know it's my farm or his farm. So if the neighborhood farms, they do not have quality flower, the pollen which will come to my farm carried by the bees or the insects will be of substandard. So I will get substandard fruits or vegetables or whatsoever. So if I don't educate them, if I don't help them to come up with the best things, I will never have that bumper harvest ever. I cannot have that. And that applies to all of us. Today we may think that, yeah, we are in an AC room, like we have everything, we have car, these, that, but we cannot eat Apple, I mean iPhone, right? We cannot chew that microprocessor. My phone broke sometimes back, 2 days back. I went and these salesmen are explaining this 3.5 TB, terabyte, gigahertz, these, that, all. He was just bombarding with all the technical things, right? And I was feeling great. Wow, I'm purchasing that. I'm the owner of that, right? So these things are okay. But if you just look down that your water supply, your food supply, your basic clothing, right? Your whatever is the basic, from where it is coming. If today, if we do not look at those places, just like the infected body part, I will not say infected, weaker. If we do not make them strong, if we do not make the other farms strong, iPhone cannot sustain, right? It will drive us to craziness and madness and a world which is insane. So that's what government found. If we do not do that investment now into entrepreneurship and innovation, we'll die. Initiatives like Invest India, MHRD, Startup India, Innovation, ARIA, Digital India, you see 5.5 lakh crores. Do you think government is mad or insane or something wrong with us? Still we are saying we want a certificate and we'll go to US and we'll earn something and we'll come back. No, please understand. We live in a community. If something happening, right, at the Gulf country, if there's a huge fire and war and we are watching TV, wow, nice fire, huh? See, all are devastated. Do you think you will be spared? No. We talk of global warming. So just India is burning fossil fuel for global warming? No. Anything happen in any part of the world, each one will be impacted. and anything good happening any part of the world, we each one will be impacted, whatever contribution we do, right? And you know how to tell you the story of the giants like Nokia and what's that, Kodak, and I can list out hundreds. So when the wave came of change, the change wave came, they said, no, we are the leaders, we are the best, will not change. What happened? How many of you know Kodak? Ask your fathers and uncle and big brothers, what was Kodak? They will tell you, once upon a time, it was the market champion. They denied, this is the change happening, will not change because we are the market leaders. I see similar attitude. We are the best, we are the best university, SRM university, so what? So what? It's not a one-day game. Please understand this. And that's the reason government is investing so much. And you need to understand that if we do not understand this change, no, I'm not asking you to come join this mission, vision, or whatever. Please understand that. So any one of you are interested, because what I feel, when you connect yourself with the earth, when you connect yourself with the cause, your life becomes much more bigger. I'm not telling don't join corporate, but when you join a big company, just like Google, you just become a small part of a big machinery, hardly noticed, right? And I'm telling with all my experience, with corporate experience that I've seen across the industries. Here you have a chance to explore, and don't worry about money. I've given you the statistics of money. It comes, but with the satisfaction that you have contributed to the nation, to the society, to our own brothers and sisters. That satisfaction you cannot buy. Apple will not give you, Apple iPhone, okay? So I'll request Tushar to share us the link. Any one of you want to be a part of this exploratory research, an organized way. Trust me, you try once and I can challenge, you cannot resist. The flavor of the soil will not let you go back. All right, I'll request Tushar. Yeah, this is the link. And also I think we have a barcode.
Just
Please
a second,
share.
sir.
Yeah.
Just a second.
And also put that in that, what
Chat
you call
box.
chat
Yes, sir.
box. So please join. It's not about joining us. It's about joining the soul of India. And that would be fun. We had great fun. The very first visit. We have not put the fun pictures there. So it's learning, it's exploration, it's about career, it's about vision, it's about fun, it's about giving a meaning to life. You don't give a meaning when you code a program under a project manager that your work is just this. You are not allowed to, like, you know, there are something called sweat shops. Just Google it. There's a lot at China, right? Those buildings are guarded with electrical wires and all these cages. You know why? The people often jump off from the terrace. Young boys, girls like us, not us, I'm not very young, like you. Okay, so why they jump? Why they're so hopeless? They got a job, they're working, right, on the technology. So this gives the heart to the technology. I was just discussing in the morning with Dr. Raksa that whatever we do, we talk of spirituality, we do of social. Without technology, that is half. Technology is just the half. This is the another half. So join the mission. Thank you, all of you. And I would like, I think I didn't see Dr. Prakash sir joining. Sir, very good evening, and would like to have a few words from your side. If you're still there and hearing.
Sir Prakash sir had left due to probably.
Okay. Maybe he had some other meetings. So I would request Kizar or Tushar to conclude. So as a customary, as we talk of structures, so as per structure, we should give a vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Udhayan sir, for your motivating words. And thank you, Aksha ma'am, for your very brilliant presentation. So you explained a very important concept in a very, very simple way. So thank you. So I think we can conclude.
I thank all the participants, especially our student champions. So whatever you see, that's all done by them. So I'm glad, I'm proud. Really, I'm proud of you. And our champion, our Tendulkar, Mr. Satya Illa, he will be the torch bearer for most of the journey. And I hope so that he will spare his time. He's still there?
Sure,
Oh,
sir.
fantastic. We would like to see you once, Mr. Satya.
Yes, I'll just on.
Yeah, fantastic. That was also a suspense for most of us. so let's
As I said, like I'm not in my own residential. Like I'm just being here to take the session.
No, I see the belt and all that. It's a boys' hostel, definitely.
Yes.
So let's this be a beginning of something really good. Did not be great.
Yes.
Let
And
this
while
be
concluding, I just want to share a few words, sir. Like when I just started the journey, or like when I was just getting incubated, people were saying like, "You are very small. How can you just like in this young age? How can you just start an enterprise?" As you said before, 5 years there was no awareness.
Absolutely.
But there was like very inspiring quote which I just learned when I was studying that social entrepreneurship in International Institute. They used to say the name of the institute was Kantari. Kantari is like a small chili which grows in the backyard of the Kerala. And when you see it, it looks small and it looks harmless. But once you bite it, you'll jump out of the spice. So in the same way, like we used to promote saying that a small chili can make a huge difference. Why not you?
Wow.
So in the same way, with this motivation, I encourage all the students and all the student organizers, as you said, the champions here who took this initiative and promoted and organized it very well. I really appreciate, and as you said, like our support and our collaboration will continue forever. And also, I really appreciate the participants. It's been like 8:40. Nobody are hungry. They are still listening to the session. I really appreciate all the participants and the organizers. It was amazing, sir.
It was amazing. I really thank you, all of you, Dr. Aksa, Mr. Satya, and all my little Mirchi in Telugu. What do you say? but they're capsicums. They are big enough. Okay, they are champions. You all have a great time. Let's start this journey, and we have brilliant guides with us. Like we are not alone. We are not exploring the unmapped terrain. We have a map. We have resources. We have support from the government. We have support from the university. We have support from the mentors, industry mentors. What else you want? Just understand. You cannot eat an apple. iPhone.
That was great.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great evening, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Satya sir. Thank you, Dian sir.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Nisha ma'am. Thank you all the participants for joining, and thanks Srinivas sir from ITKM department to make this event possible. Thanks a lot.
Can I end the
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
sure, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.